Welcome to the This Justin podcast by your host, Justin. And today we talk about the Dallas Mavericks, whom are currently, as of February 4th, 2021, the 13th seed in the Western Conference. Now, a lot of people prior to the start of the NBA season were saying this Dallas Mavericks team were legit. Would have been a top 4 seed in the Western Conference, considering how well they played against the LA Clippers. A lot of people were saying it. The mainstream media agreed, and so did the most part of NBA fans. And along with that, people were saying Luka Doncic would have won the MVP, or at least been a candidate. And as we know now, the Mavericks, as I said, the 13th seed. And Doncic is playing amazing. Let me check his numbers. Let me read you his numbers. He's practically averaging a triple-double. 27 points a game, 9 rebounds, 10 assists. And the Mavericks are not even in the playoffs. And you know what's surprising? Not surprising, but what's interesting is that the MVP conversation, as of February 4th, is still up to debate. There is no clear MVP choice. You know, in previous years, we had a pretty good idea of who would be the MVP. Last year, it was LeBron and Giannis. The year prior was James Harden. This year, there is no clear MVP as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, during the start of the season, you could argue Paul George, Kevin Durant. But seeing as Kevin Durant acquired James Harden, along with Kyrie Irving, whom he had, they're so stacked they are supposed to be great. And typically when that happens, as we've seen in Golden State by Kevin Durant himself, even the 2-time MVP, Steph Curry. Typically, when you're on such a great team, you're not really considered for the MVP conversation. Which is weird, but it's typically the case. So the MVP conversation is clear as day, and Luka Doncic is putting up MVP numbers, but he won't win MVP. Or even be considered nominated as a candidate, because his team's not in playoffs. Why is that? How could the mainstream media, along with a lot of NBA fans, be so wrong about the Mavericks? Well, I believe that for the most part, I think people overestimated this team. And I think it started back against the matchup in the Clippers versus the Clippers last year in the playoffs. I think a lot of people were seeing how good this Mavericks team was playing against the Clippers. And they were saying, you know, the Clippers, one of the best teams in the Western Conference. They're playing that good against them. They're going to be a threat. Doncic was emerged even better than he was in regular season that year. I believe that one game during that series, he had a game winner. A game winner. Against pretty good defense, too. Bang, bang. So a lot of people, based off that, assumed they would have been better. But I hate to say it, but they were a 7th seed. And they really didn't make any significant changes during the offseason. Meanwhile, the rest of the Western Conference continues to do that. We all know the Western Conference is the more dominant conference compared to the East. So the fact that they didn't make any moves in acquiring anyone that was significant enough in changing their ranks in terms of standings, it's not surprising to me that they have fallen off. They've done nothing of rising up. Consider that with Porzingis wasn't healthy to start the season. The Mavericks didn't have Porzingis, their second best player. And that's going to be a problem for them. Because Porzingis has a history of not being healthy. That's your second best player. We all know how great Porzingis is. He's 7 foot. He could shoot. He's a pretty good defender. He's underrated from that aspect of the game. But if your second best player, there's this old saying, the best ability is availability. If your second best player might miss, like, let's say 40% of the games, he will miss a lot of games. You can't trust this guy to stay healthy during a postseason run. If that's your second best player, you're in trouble. And he wasn't healthy to begin the season. The Mavericks struggled mightily. I believe Porzingis is back, as of February 4th. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he's back. Even so, the Mavericks have been struggling. Now, I will check the Dallas Mavericks, who are 9-13, the 13th seed, as I said. Now, they did just come off a win against the Hawks. Let me check if Porzingis played that game. He did play that game. He had 24 and 11. As I said, we all acknowledge he's a great player. And nevertheless, he's not healthy. He's not available. So the Mavericks, in my opinion, were overestimated. And they didn't make any significant changes. Their players weren't healthy. And they're only now trying to get this piece going to a postseason run. My prediction, I don't think they make it. And because of that, your team has to be one of the elite teams in the conference in order for you to win MVP.